Well, I just wondered what the higher tier of society do. What we need is someone who's worked in it. Grant Harrold was a Royal Butler, of course. Grant, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In my mind, Grant, one of your roles would have been, have you ever seen The Devil Wears Prada, where the PA leans in, or the expert leans in, and goes, "It's Alan Newman, it's Grant Harrold." Did you used to do that? You would lean in and just say, "It's the Marquise of, wherever," and it would help the dignitaries.
Do you know, over the years, over the last 20 years, there has been maybe one or two occasions, I wouldn't say so much with senior members of the royal family, but I have maybe mentioned something, especially with the princess that I work with at the moment. Sometimes if there's a name or something, I might just say what it is. But I was just thinking with Donald Trump and that situation, it could have been far worse. And everyone's kind of saying, about obviously Apple, but he could have called him Mr. Mac or iPad or iPhone or something. So at least it wasn't that bad. But I think if you can see somebody making a mistake, it's very tricky, because it's not really down to you to turn around and say to someone, "You're getting my name wrong." I've had people, for some reason, they call me Graham. My name's Grant, and they'll keep saying Graham. And you kind of leave it for so long, and then eventually somebody else, that's the hopeful bit, is somebody else, if there's a group, might say, "Well, that's actually Grant." So it's tricky, because you're not really supposed to correct somebody.
If you're a member of the royal family, though, and you get somebody's name wrong, you're never going to be corrected, are you?
Well, do you know, they are masters when it comes to this kind of thing. I've been lucky enough to have been with them when they've gone and done visits or met with dignitaries and VIPs or Mr. Smith at the end of the road, and they always get the names spot on. Even I used to kind of think, how on earth do they do it? Obviously they have to get it right, because if they get it wrong, it's going to be newsworthy. So they can't make any mistake. Not only do they know their names, they also know little bits about them. So they're very, they've got all their information in that hand. They know exactly who the person is, what they've done, where they're from. So that's why I say they're masters when it comes to this thing. I would have thought that when it comes to presidents, it would be the same thing. In defence, they are doing 101 things, so it's probably quite easy to suddenly, maybe he was thinking about the company and got it muddled up. It's very embarrassing when it does happen, especially when you're, the president of the States.
So are you saying, from what you've just described there, that the Prince of Wales, if he's going to meet somebody, he'll be sitting in the back of his car, being driven, on his phone, Googling who he's going to meet and making little notes?
I hope not. I hope not. No, they just, like with their office and things, they'll make sure, if you're going to meet someone, they're going to make sure you know who you're meeting and a little bit about backgrounds and things. They're not just going to turn up and go, "Who are you?" Hopefully they're not going to say, "Who are you?" So they have to have a bit of kind of information in advance as to who they're meeting. Also, if you go to a garden party, actually, I'm sure you've both been at the Palace.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
Millions.
When you've been there, you'll notice that there'll be the gentleman there who will actually, when the Queen walks over to you, they'll actually remind, or they'll actually say, this is say the names and where they're from, and so they, even there at that point, they'll give her the information. She probably already knows. It's just a recap, which again, is quite a good idea, especially if you're meeting quite a few people.
Have you ever done it yourself? Just finally, Grant, have you ever, the pressure you're under, have you, and you're working with people and it's highly sensitive and there's so much going on, have you ever just stood there thinking, I know you're a royal, or I know you're important, or I know you're from, Etihad and you're very, very wealthy, but for the life of me, all I can hear at the moment is white noise?
No, I can assure you, when meeting Roz, especially with the most senior, I always remembered Her Majesty. Very easy to remember.
Right, it's true.
Yes, I have. I've got to admit, I have been in situations, not so much with royals, but I have been in situations where I haven't got somebody's name spot on, and at that point, you can say to somebody, if you didn't catch the name, you can say, "I'm terribly sorry, could you just remind me, I didn't quite catch your name," but you can only get away with that once.
Yes,
if,
true.
If you forget again, and again, people say, "Well, how do you remember after that point?" You've got to say the name in a conversation. You've got to keep saying the name, and it will help you remember it. Or in a worst case situation, without them seeing, it's almost kind of writing it down, so that later on when you see them, you remember who they are.
Grant, an absolute pleasure to chat as ever. Grant Harrold, the Royal Butler here on BBC Radio Solent. If you want to get involved, please do.